Why must it be so hard to get a tinted mineral sunscreen to look good on deeper skin? Today I'm reviewing some that are supposed to be better for deeper skin, so let's see. Now, why would you want a tinted sunscreen? Studies have shown that the iron oxides that are in the tinted sunscreens can help give you some additional protection from visible light, which can worsen pigmentation, that along with punk-ass UVA. So we'll see how these measure up, so keep watching. First up, the Colorescience Sunforgettable Total Protection Face Shield Flex. This is an SPF 50 with a PA of 4+. All the UV filters in this are mineral. It's also water and sweat resistant up to 40 minutes. The price tag on this is $39 for 1.8 fluid ounces of product. So this, y'all, this is another one where y'all were all up in my comments, all up in my DMs, all up in everything saying, Danielle, try this out. And it seemed very promising, right? Because this uses some really cool technology where it's supposed to adjust to your skin tone. So I had high hopes. I opened her up. I put her on my fingertips. I rubbed it together just like the directions said. The color did start to change as it was in my fingertips, right? Put it on my face. I knew not to go fooling with Colorescience after the last product I tried, but this is for y'all. Put it on my face, as it said. I gave it 1 to 2 minutes. It still had not blended in. Then I forgot that I had this thing on. I went to do some other stuff. An hour or so had passed. And this is what it looks like. The Black-owned Korean brand is on this side. I put them on at the same time. That looks beautiful. We'll talk about this more in the video. Like, come on, Colorescience. But there are some good things about this. So if this is something that might match your skin, it does have some good qualities about it. So from my notes, it has a nice finish. So this has a satin matte finish. You guys know I love a satin matte finish. And I feel like a satin matte finish can work on a multitude of skin types, which is true. They did say that this can work on most skin types. I think this can work really nicely on oily skin in the summertime. You may have to set it with a powder. You can set this with your regular makeup powder, and then if your makeup powder has iron oxides in it, you can maybe get some additional iron oxide protection. Or if you want, you can put like a mineral powder sunscreen on top of it to set it if you wanted to do that. I also think this is gonna work nicely if you have dry skin. You know, obviously make sure that your hydration and moisturizing steps in your routine are on point for the situation. So if it's summer, you know, you do your summer stuff. If it's winter, you know, you get into your winter. But I do think this is something that, you know, if it was the right color, would look nice on my skin, and I think I would probably like it. But you want to know something? As I'm talking here, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, it said to massage it in your hands to activate the iron oxide pigments in the formula, right? But I'm wondering if because obviously my fingertips are a different color than, you know, my skin. This is not any darker than when it was on my fingers. All right, I'll give it a minute. All right, I gave this more than the 1 to 2 minutes that the directions asked for. It definitely looks better than when I rubbed the pigment in my fingers, which is what the directions told me to do. But this is still not my color. Like, it doesn't look terrible, but it's also not my color. Like, you could really see that that's not my color. And this is just in one spot. Imagine if I put this all over my face, it would look even worse, right? So this is like my natural color, and then this is what that looks like. I think if you're a little bit lighter than me, then, you know, maybe this would work out for you, but about my shade and deeper, nah, you would still have to put makeup on over it for it to look, you know, like your skin. And that defeats the purpose because, you know, you wanted it to be like an all-in-one kind of thing. So it's still a no for me. Now, next up, these were sent to me in PR. This is from Dr. Gio Cosmetics. This is a Black-owned Korean skincare company, right? So these are really cool. So I'm pretty sure you guys have seen like these cushion kind of foundation. These were, I think, more popular maybe like 2014, 2015. Like, I think so. I don't know. My brain a little fuzzy with the timing, but this was something that was really popular way back when. But maybe not amongst those of us with deeper skin tones, because a lot of these came in 2 shades, you know, beige 1 and beige 2, right? So I was really happy to see these because they have a pretty decent shade range. They sent me their 2 deepest colors in this compact, so let's talk about it. So this is $34.99. You're going to get 13 grams, which is 0.45 ounce of product. I really like this. Now, these 2 shades that they sent me are too deep for my complexion, so they sent me shades 5 and 6. Looking at their website, I think I would probably be closer to a shade 4, or I might be in between like a 4 and a 5. But I actually really did like the way that this looks. So these have mineral filters, they have iron oxides in them. I do think this is easy to apply. The cushion to me felt a little clumsy because I'm like, okay, I gotta be a little delicate in here and put my fingers through and then apply it. But the sponge does make it apply really nicely in your skin. And I'm not even sure if I can call this a sponge. I would say that the material is not as absorbent as a sponge. You know, you dip it in and then you apply it on the skin, and it's actually really striking if you can, you know, if you can get your shade. This also has a really nice satin matte finish. I think satin matte is a finish that can work on so many people. This also worked really nicely on me without me needing to set it with powder. But when I was testing, I was just, you know, around the house. Obviously, being around the house is not the same as being outside in the elements. So if I was outside, I would say I would probably need to set it with powder. But you guys, you know, when you get something that's new to you, you know, you kind of tweak it. You decide like, oh, let me try this with this moisturizer, or with that moisturizer, with this powder, with this much powder. Maybe I just powder my T-zone. So you kind of got to like tweak things when you get them to see how they can work for you. Something like this, although it's like maybe makeup, but it has sunscreen in it, this can count as your sunscreen. But, big old but, you have to put enough on. I would just put on your regular sunscreen and then use this on top. I wouldn't rely on this as your sole form of sunscreen because I don't think you're probably gonna use enough of it for it to count. I love this. Would you try it? Let me know in the comments. All right, so next up, Dermablend has a CC cream, continuous correction, full coverage CC cream sunscreen is what they call it. This is SPF 50 plus. This is $39 for 1 ounce of product. So unlike all the others that we've mentioned so far, this uses chemical/organic UV filters for the sunscreen protection in here. So bear that in mind if, like, you know, that's a thing for you. Not everyone specifically needs a mineral sunscreen, so I kind of like to mix it up with the mineral and the chemical sunscreen coverage on this channel here. So this is a full coverage foundation, but I found it to wear really nicely on the skin. A lot of the full coverage foundations of the past might have some of us kind of like apprehensive about using anything full coverage, because full coverage in the past usually meant like casket sharp. You ain't see not a one pore, and it looked like very obvious that you had on a full coverage. I like today's full coverage foundations because they're able to provide you great coverage without looking casket sharp. You can still look like your skin. I was sent this in PR. They sent me shades 75N and 85N. I would say 85N is probably closer to my color, but maybe I could mix these and get a better color because 75N was too light. And then I felt like 85N I think I'd work with on its own. It did appear a smidge too dark, but once I highlight and contour and put the rest of my makeup on, I think 85N can be fine. And for reference, I wear N110 in Cover Effect, 445 in Fenty, 6.5N in Dior. This also has a really nice satin matte finish that I absolutely loved. I tested this, you know, without setting it with powder, and it wore really nicely. But again, when I tested it, I was just, you know, running around the house and stuff like that. If I were to go outside, I would probably, not even probably, I would definitely set this with powder so that it could, you know, give me a nice, you know, long lasting feel. But again, tweak it. Maybe you might want to see how it works with your different moisturizers or your different powders. Maybe not set it with powder, maybe set it with powder. Like I mentioned before for the other product, this can count as your sunscreen, sunscreen, but you have to put on enough. If you know you're not gonna put on enough, just put on your base sunscreen and then you can put this on top. I actually really like this. Would you try it? Let me know in the comments. Now, last but not least, we have a tinted mineral sunscreen with iron oxides. This is from a Black-owned brand. This is the Absolute Joy Daily Hydrating Moisturizing Cream. This is SPF 40. It comes in 2 shades, Cafe au Lait and Mocha. And the price tag on these, they're $42 for 1.7 fluid ounces of product. These have iron oxides. They do have mineral filters. So the texture is really nice. It blends really nicely on the skin. You don't have to do a whole bunch of like tugging to get it on your skin. So the formula is really lightweight. You're going to get where it feels like you can combine a bunch of steps in one. Some people may need to still put their moisturizer or at least some sort of hydrating serum or hydrating toner on before. But I think this can kind of knock out a couple of steps in your routine if you don't, need another moisturizer on underneath. But I love that it's hydrating, because sometimes you hear things that say hydrating and you're like, ooh, that's gonna be greasy on me. But to me, it felt really nice, lightweight, and I have oily skin. And I actually went outside with this. Okay, so you wanna shake well before you use this, because sometimes I think that the pigments and the product can kind of separate. So you shake it really well. So when it came out, I was like, oh, I don't know about this, because the color almost looks like yeah, that's not gonna match me. But once you put it on, I think that it blends in pretty nicely. The Cafe au Lait didn't look that bad on my face either. And the Cafe au Lait is even lighter. So I do appreciate that we got some like realistic looking tints here, but I do wonder if you have a complexion that's even richer than mine. I do wonder how that's going to look. I do feel like the Mocha has a bit of a warm undertone to it, so that it may not look ashy, because I feel like what really sets things off is that some of these things are like grayish and that can wind up looking a little ashy. Now, it's not depositing color. This is not meant to deposit color like like maybe the Dermablend or the Dr. Gio. And then you can, like, if you wanted to set something on top of it, if you weren't really that pleased with the way that it looked on your skin, you could put like your powder foundation on top, or whatever makeup you're wearing for the day on top of it if you weren't pleased with how it looked. But I actually went outside with the Mocha on and felt okay. Of course, when I came back and looked at myself in the mirror in the yellow lighting, I was like, ooh, this looks like a little off. But then when I came in here with the natural lighting, I'm like, oh, you can't see it. So, bear that in mind. But I do think this is nice. I do hope that maybe one day they'll come out with, a bigger bottle for the body, because I do think, like, people who look for mineral sunscreens for the body, that this formula and the color would be really great. I do a ton of sunscreen reviews on this channel. As a matter of fact, there is a playlist. There's one specifically for mineral sunscreens, if that's all you're looking for. And then I have a broader sunscreen for darker skin that includes both chemical and mineral sunscreen. So make sure you check that out for more. I'm pleased with some of the color science. We don't know her. Let me know in the comments below if you will try any of these tinted sunscreen products. Follow me on social. The links will be in the description box, as well as other pertinent information. Like, y'all really gotta get in the description box, because links to the products will be there, information on stuff that I'm wearing, where to find me on social. All of that stuff is in there. Timestamps, like, it's just juicy stuff waiting for you in the description box. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.